Hey, what's up everyone? Johnny the Geek here, and today I'm going to be showing you how to use the torrents, right? So this is a very delicate operation, a very delicate topic. I gotta be very careful what I say and do here, alright? So follow along and hopefully you are able to understand what I'm talking about. Now, so what torrent is a way of file sharing between people, but it's not in a traditional sense where it's peer-to-peer, directly, sort of, complete file given to a person completely and whatnot. The original intent of the torrents was to distribute files, large files, namely large, very large files, um, very efficiently, right? So what it does actually is that it takes a file, um, let's say for example a video file, or yeah, a video file, or a program or whatever, and it breaks it up in a bunch of parts, right? A whole bunch of parts. And what it'll do is that it will share a piece, right? So if somebody is sharing this piece, they will share a piece, and they will share another piece to another person, and then they will share another piece to another person, and so on and so on. And then you as the recipient, you receive this piece, and in order for you to receive another piece, you have to share your piece first, and then you'll be able to receive another piece from somebody else, not from the same person. You're going to receive another piece, from another person that you need to complete your piece, your video file that you're looking for, right? So it's sort of a way that kind of gets around the fact that you're downloading one complete file from a person, right? And it's more efficient that way because then you can download multiple pieces from multiple people at the same time rather than relying on one person's piece to download from their computer down to your computer, because they might go away or they might turn off their computer, then you gotta wait forever. So instead of doing that, it breaks it up into a bunch of pieces, and then you share a piece, and the only way you can get another piece if you share another piece that you have that somebody else needs, and so on and so on. And when you involve hundreds of people sharing a single file and pieces of it, that's what the benefit is, right, of sharing the files. So with that said, what a torrent file is not necessarily the video file that you're trying to look for. The torrent file is actually just a file with the instructions of all the pieces and where to get all the pieces. And when your client, in our case we're going to use uTorrent, when your client is looking for the file that's in that torrent file, another computer has that torrent file, and it understands. It's like, oh, okay, you're looking for that piece that's in this torrent file? Yeah, I have that piece right here. Here you go. And then another computer that has the same torrent file, oh, you're looking for that piece? Yeah, okay, I have that piece. Here you go. Hey, by the way, I need this piece. Can you give me that piece, please? And then it's the communication between your clients, right? And it's all based on the tracker file, the torrent file, right? So when you download a torrent, you're actually just downloading a small little file with the instructions, with the ingredients, so to speak, for that file to compile or grab all the pieces from other computers, right? So you need a client, a torrent client, and today I'm using uTorrent, and this is what I'm going to use. And I like it because it's a very small and light program. I do very basic stuff. I don't do like crazy settings and whatnot for that, but I'm going to go through and download and configure it. And I like this because it doesn't really necessarily need you to configure your router. I mean, you can do that, is configure router, put static IP addresses to your computer, and opening ports on your router to allow traffic to flow through. It's a very complicated process. I'm not going to go through that right now. This is going to be a very basic setup, and I'm going to show you some of the settings that I like to go through, or that I like to use personally on my own computer in ways of configuring and the way I have things set up and downloading and the workflow and stuff and what happens to the torrents files and whatnot. Alright, so let's get started. I'm going to download the file here, and it's pretty quick. It's a very small file. That's what I like about it. It takes up very little resources. Alright, so here it is. I think it doesn't install, it doesn't seem. I guess it just runs standalone, doesn't require installation, which is weird. I don't know how that works. Anyways, if it installs on your computer, great, let it install on your computer. I think probably because I already have it. So anyways, so here we have the uTorrent, and I'm going to go into the options and preferences. Now, what I like to do is that in my general settings, I'll leave that alone. UI settings, I'll leave that alone. That's all personal preference type stuff. But in the directories, now it says here, put downloads in, right? So it means puts what I'm looking for, my video file or my program that I'm downloading, put it in a specific folder, right, when I download it. I have it set to my downloads folder, and that's fine. I could set it to my desktop if I wanted to, right? But check this out. Automatically loads torrents from. This is one of the features that I love about this uTorrent, is that you download that little tracker file, that little torrent file. After uTorrent sees it and adds it to the queue and everything, it kind of it doesn't really need that torrent file anymore. It's got the instructions. It knows what it needs to do. So I like to throw it away. Some people like to save it. I don't know why. For later on, so they don't have to download it again, but it's a small file. I just get rid of it, right? So what I'm having it do now is that every time that torrent file shows up on my desktop, right, uTorrent will automatically start downloading it will recognize it and start downloading my file. I really like that feature. I'm actually going to change this right now, and I'm going to change it to my Dropbox. And in my Dropbox, I have a torrents folder. Now, not to get too complicated or too sidetracked, but the reason why I put it in my Dropbox is because I could be at another computer somewhere, or a computer at work, and they don't allow torrenting, which is totally understandable. I will download the torrent file and put it in my Dropbox. Then my computer at home, when it's on, it will have uTorrent running, and uTorrent will recognize the torrent in the Dropbox folder that I created, and it'll start uploading or downloading the torrent file, because Dropbox is that whole syncing folders thing. If you don't know what that is, then just pick your desktop or the downloads folder for your torrents to download, right? So and then once it downloads and uTorrent's already done its thing with it, I check the box that says delete the torrent file because I don't need it anymore. It's just going to fill up as junk, right? So on to connections here, where you could specify a port. Again, that's the complicated stuff. I'm not going to really get into that. That's for opening ports so that traffic flows through uninhibited, and you get a lot of speed and a lot of bandwidth through there without anything blocking it, and you get your files faster, right? Now, bandwidth. Here's the important thing. This varies depending on the internet connection speed you have at home, right? So I have another video where you can watch the speed test .net, where you test the speed of your internet connection, right? And so we are now configuring the bandwidth that's needed for torrenting. Now, torrenting, downloading and uploading the files takes up a lot of bandwidth, and it will slow your internet down. I typically don't like to use torrents when I'm surfing the net, watching Netflix or movies or anything like that. I typically will torrent like during the night, in the middle of the night, or when I'm away at work and I'm not really using the computer or the internet at home, because it will bog down your internet. Here's where you can specify how much of the internet you're going to bog down. So my maximum upload rate, based on my internet speed, which I have about a 1 megabit up and about 20 megabit down. I'm using 20K Some people use like upwards of 80K, and for me that would just slow my internet down ridiculously a lot. Right, so this is the upload rate. This is when someone's asking for a piece of that file, remember. This is the speed in which you're sending files out to people, right? Because you can't download files unless you're sharing files. Alright, and then for the download rate, I leave it right here, this one right here. Download rate, 0 means unlimited. That means download as fast as you could. Again, I typically only use this when I'm not using the computer for anything else, right? Other than that, that's pretty much it. You can change the maximum number of connections. I don't know what the defaults are, but I upped it a little bit. I don't really know what these mean. And transfer cap, basically this pretty much means that once uTorrent has transferred a certain amount of data a month, because see, some of your ISPs like Time Warner, Comcast, they limit how much gigs of transfer you can do, gigs of internet you can get. It's like they limit the amount of water your house is allowed to have. So if you have a cap, if your ISP caps you, then you can set uTorrent to only transfer like 100 gigs a month. Let's say you your ISP gives you 200 gigs a month of bandwidth, and you want to say, all right, uTorrent, once you hit 100 gigs, that's it, stop, don't torrent anymore, stop transferring, because some ISPs might charge you, or they might cut your service off or not give you any more service, and then you're stuck with no internet. We don't want that. So if you enable, that's how you can monitor your bandwidth usage, right? And it tells you here how much you've been using within the last 30 days, right? So you can monitor that, which is a really neat feature that they just included. Queuing, this is the amount of files that you could download at one time. I set it to 25 because some files download fast, some files download slow, so I just say I want my limit to be 25, and that's pretty much it for setting up BitTorrent, or I mean uTorrent. Right. So now I'm gonna show you the I'm gonna actually download a torrent file, right? And I'm here on the Backtrack Linux. This is a Linux distribution. This is a legal torrent that I could download. There's a lot of illegal stuff out there. We'll get to more on that a little bit later. All right. So let's say here I'm at this site, and they offer, if you notice here, they offer a direct download of the file or a torrent file. Direct download is like, this file is like almost 2 gigs big, right? But they also offer a torrent file. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is click on downloads, right? And it should pop up in a second. There we go. And it put the torrent file actually on my desktop here, right? But remember, I told uTorrent that when you see a torrent file in my torrents folder here, to start downloading, and in a second you'll see it. Boom, there it is right there. Started the torrent file, and it deleted it from the folder because I told it once uTorrent starts the file and it got everything, then delete it from the torrents folder so I don't have a bunch of junk in there. And then it will also put it in my downloads right here, right? So even though this file says it's 2 gigs, it's not really there yet. uTorrent just made space for it, right? It doesn't really have the file there, so until this is done, this file right here, it doesn't work. So don't do anything to this file. Don't try to, open the file or do anything with it while it's torrenting. Wait till it's done. And when it's done, you can hit the X and it will remove the torrent, and you won't be sharing it or downloading anymore. Or you can hit pause, or you can hit stop for now, and then there's a play button here and you can hit play. But as you can see right here, my download speed is about 700K. That's almost 1 megabit down, or 1 megabyte down. Yeah, there you go. See, I'm hitting 1 megabyte down, which is really fast for one torrent. If you have more torrents, that's pretty much my threshold right there of 1 megabyte per second downloading. But if you have more torrents, it'll, spread it out accordingly to the amount of torrents that you have, as well as the upload speed. The upload speed, if you notice, is not the 20K that I specified earlier, right? So what I've downloaded here is an ISO file, right? And I'm going to talk a little bit about ISO files. When you're on certain sites and you're downloading torrents, again, I'll get to that in a second, you're going to download ISO files or bin files, right? And what are those? ISO files are basically the entire disk. It's an entire CD contained within one file. So let's say, for example, I've got this disk. I don't have it here with me, but I've got a disk, a StarCraft game, right? StarCraft 2. That's one disk. And so an ISO file of that disk is basically the entire disk, bit for bit, how it is on the disk, is contained within one file, an ISO file, or a bin file, right? And what you can do, what you're supposed to do with that is either burn it to a disk, right? That file that you download from the internet, burn it to a disk, right? So this torrent that I'm downloading right now is an ISO file. It's the entire disk, but it's contained in one file. I had the option of downloading it and burning it with Windows 7. They offer ISO burning is built in now. I can burn it to a disk and I've got the entire disk just like if I were to buy the disk at the store, right? Or you can use a program like Daemon Tools Lite, and the link will be in the description. You can use this program right here to mount the disk, right? So what this program is, it's a virtual DVD drive, or it's actually more of a virtual Blu-ray drive even, because you can actually download an image, an ISO file of a Blu-ray, right? So what this is that it's a virtual drive, and it's a virtual optical drive. So it's like your DVD drive that you have on your computer, but it's an optical one. So you take that virtual disk, that ISO file, and you load it up into Daemon Tools, right? And I'll go ahead and download it now. Daemon Tools Lite is free, by the way, and you load it up into Daemon Tools, and your computer sees it as like you just put in a disk. Alright? It doesn't know the difference. It's a virtual disk. To your computer, it's like, oh, you just installed a new DVD burner, right? Or DVD drive. As a matter of fact, when you install Daemon Tools Lite and you restart, you'll actually see a new hardware has been found, and it's an optical drive. Well, it's Daemon Tools optical drive or virtual drive. And so when you we'll go through the installation process here. When you mount the ISO, it's like you're physically putting a disk into the drive. I like to, yeah, I'll leave this. It's best to put this SPTD check, but a reboot is required, so I'm not going to do that right now. It's just greater compatibility with the ISO files. I'm going to leave it unchecked because I'm recording right now, and I do not want to install Advanced Registry Optimizer, aka bloatware, right? So I'll install that, and unfortunately I won't have an ISO file. Well, maybe uTorrent will finish. No, it's going to take like 30 minutes for this ISO file to file. Oh, see, look, check it out. So it just installed this DTS Soft Virtual CD-ROM drive. No, I don't want to install a gadget. It's more bloatware. Let me see if I could find an ISO file for you somewhere here. Well, what I'll do is I'll load this, even though you're not really supposed to do this and it's not finished downloading yet. Hopefully it won't wig out on me. Right? I got a little error right here. But you won't see this. It's because I've got, It hasn't finished downloading the ISO file. And I don't have another ISO file to show you. Anyways, what you do is you have this, this is a bin of your ISO files that you dragged and dropped the ISO file here. And what you can do is then you drag this onto the drive here. Oh, alright. Well, if my ISO file was working, that's where it would go. So, this is the drive, F drive right here that Daemon Tools Lite created, right? So it just sees it as a regular Blu-ray drive, actually. And when you drag and drop the ISO file onto your F drive, it mounts it into this drive here. So you'll see it mounted on this drive, right? And then you just go through the installation process, just like I have this Office 2010 something, right? Just sees it at just like if it was a disk. So that is pretty much the gist of torrenting, loading up ISO files, also bin files, and which, by the way, the whole topic. Oh, where to get torrents? Sorry. A couple of sites I like to use: Kickass Torrents and Daemon Tools, or no, Demoniod. Sorry, Demoniod. Right. Tread on these sites very carefully. There's a lot of illegal content here. I don't condone clicking and downloading on all of this stuff. But if you do, and you come across certain programs, sometimes in the ISO file or the bin file, the disk, will contain a folder that has a magical file in there that makes the program just magically work, right? And it would be a file that you would take to replace another file once you've installed the program. So you go through the installation process, you mount the ISO file or the bin file in your Daemon Tools virtual drive here. You go through the installation process. There might be a serial key contained within some README file that's on the disk, right? And you install, go through the installation process, and then you there might be a file that you need to overwrite. So let's say, for example, I don't know, let's use Daemon Tools. Let's say this is a shortcut, right? Let's pretend this was a program or game that you just installed, and you open the file location. This is a shortcut on your desktop here to the game, and you right click and you open the file location, right? And this is the actual file that the shortcut goes to, right? And let's say in your mounted image here in that drive, there's another file that's similar to this one, right? Only a little bit different. Maybe even the size is a little bit different. Maybe the size is a little bit smaller or a little bit larger, right? And what you need to do is from your disk, right? Let's say that there was a file called Daemon Tools something DT Lite, right? This file here. What you would do is that you would take this file and then you would drag and drop it on top of this file. Then it'll come up and say, hey, that file's already there. You sure you want to do that? You sure you want to copy and replace that file? And you say yes, right? And then your game magically starts working. Magically. I don't know how else to explain it for you without getting into too much trouble. I'm probably going to get into a lot of trouble already explaining this to you. One last thing I gotta mention is that you may notice some service interruptions from your ISP because your ISPs, meaning your internet service provider, will detect torrent traffic, right? They may not know what exactly you're downloading, but they will know torrent traffic when they see it because it's a different type of traffic aside from like internet traffic, right? Web traffic. When you're viewing web pages, that's a type of traffic that they know. They can see the kind of packets there. When you're playing a video game and your computer is transferring data, video game data. They know what kind of traffic that is when you're on your Xbox or 360 or Netflix even. They know what kind of traffic that is. And then torrents, they know what kind of traffic that is. So your ISPs will definitely know that torrent traffic is going by, and they may interrupt your service, meaning they may make your service slow all of a sudden. You may get an email saying, hey, you're torrenting, knock it off, don't get into trouble and whatnot. So with that said, do this at your own risk. Don't start pointing fingers, please. Right? I do this for educational purposes. A lot of people ask me to explain certain things. This is how I'm explaining it, and this is how I'm showing you a video tutorial on it. Right? So, with that said, happy torrenting. Please rate, subscribe, thumbs up, thumbs down, comment on my video or my channel or whatnot. With that said, thanks for watching. Johnny the Geek out. Peace!